is Chika?
My side man.
You're a married woman. How could...
You're not the only one who's polygamous in nature, Nnamdi.
In a quiet corner of the city, where the hum of everyday life was often drowned out by the secrets people carried, there lived a woman named Adaora. Adaora was everything a woman could be. Beautiful, strong, and proud. She had been married to Nnamdi for over a decade. Together, they had built a home and raised children, but what looked perfect on the outside was anything but. Nnamdi, her husband, had never been the ideal man. He had secrets, dark ones. But Adaora didn't know how deep those secrets ran or how much pain they would eventually bring her. It was late one evening when Adaora found out. She had always been a trusting wife, but something had been off lately. Nnamdi had become distant. His eyes no longer held the warmth they once did. When she confronted him about his growing silence and unexplained absences, his response hit her like a slap in the face. You know, women don't understand men, Nnamdi said, shrugging nonchalantly. Men are polygamous in nature, Adaora. It's in our blood. I can't help it. She froze. The words hung in the air like a cloud of betrayal. For years she had stood by him, believed their vows in the sanctity of their love, and here he was, using the very nature of his manhood as an excuse for his infidelity. Adaora, you're telling me that your betrayal is because of something that's in your blood? Nnamdi, how could you? He didn't seem to care much. In fact, he didn't even apologize. He simply shrugged and turned away, leaving her standing there, heartbroken and confused. That night, Adaora couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned in bed, the words repeating over and over in her mind, polygamous nature. She knew she deserved better. She didn't want to be a woman who quietly accepted betrayal. But what could she do? Her heart wanted to believe that things would change, but deep down, she knew they wouldn't. What would you do if you were in Adaora's shoes? Comment below your thoughts on the story. Please like, comment, and subscribe. That was the night she met Chika. Chika was a man she met through an old friend. He was kind, attentive, and always there when she needed him. He listened to her pain without judgment. He admired her strength and in a way made her feel seen. Unlike Nnamdi, Chika wasn't just about words. He took the time to understand her. As the days went on, Adaora found herself seeking solace in Chika's arms. What started as a harmless distraction quickly became an affair that filled the void Nnamdi had created. He made her feel like a woman again, not just a wife left to deal with the shadows of her husband's infidelity. One evening, as the two sat in a quiet restaurant, Chika looked at her with sincerity in his eyes. Adaora, I know this isn't easy for you, but you don't have to keep living like this. You deserve better than Nnamdi. Adaora stared into his eyes, searching for something, anything that would tell her that this wasn't a fleeting moment. The weight of the lie she was living under crushed her every day, but with Chika, things felt lighter. She realized for the first time in years she had the power to reclaim her happiness. But still, guilt gnawed at her. Was she becoming just as bad as Nnamdi? Months passed, and Nnamdi had no idea about Adaora's affair. He was too consumed with his own desires, too arrogant in his belief that he was entitled to his freedom, while Adaora remained his loyal wife. But Adaora had changed. No longer the woman who would cry and beg him to come back. She had become a woman who took control of her own life. One fateful evening, everything came crashing down. Nnamdi came home earlier than expected, his face clouded with suspicion. He had started to notice the changes in Adaora, her newfound confidence, the late-night phone calls, the way she seemed distant. He had always known something was off, but he had never imagined that it would lead to this. Nnamdi, Adaora, what's going on? I've seen the way you look at me, like you're looking at a stranger. Adaora stood up from the couch, her heart pounding in her chest. The weight of her secrets pressed down on her, but she couldn't take it anymore. It was time for the truth. Adaora, you've never understood me, Nnamdi. You've been so busy satisfying your own desires that you forgot about me, forgot about what we were building. You've broken me, over and over again. And now I found someone who makes me feel alive again. Nnamdi's face twisted in disbelief, but it was the raw pain in Adaora's voice that caught him off guard. For the first time in years, he saw her, not as the wife who would always stand by him, but as a woman who had been shattered by his actions. Nnamdi, you're cheating on me? You really think I'm going to let you walk away with this? Adaora felt a surge of anger rise in her chest. For years she had begged, pleaded, and tried to make things work. But now she stood tall, no longer willing to hide her pain for the sake of a man who never cared. Adaora, I didn't want to cheat, Nnamdi, but you left me no choice. You told me men are polygamous in nature. Well, maybe women are too. Maybe we just wait for the right person to come along, and that person isn't you anymore. For the first time, Nnamdi was speechless, his face flushed with a mixture of shame and anger. His grip on his ego was slipping, and it terrified him. Adaora was no longer the woman he controlled. She was a force of her own. Days passed, and Nnamdi found himself alone in the house, his thoughts consumed by Adaora's words. He couldn't stop thinking about how she had stood her ground, how she had no fear of walking away from him. It was a hard pill to swallow. His arrogance had cost him the one person who had loved him unconditionally. One evening, Nnamdi went to Adaora seeking a final chance to explain himself. Adaora, I've been a fool. I thought I could do whatever I wanted without consequences, but now I see you deserve so much more than I've given you. Adaora stared at him, her heart conflicted. She had been hurt, but a part of her still cared for the man she had married. I need more than apologies, Nnamdi. I need respect. I need trust. You can't just take my love for granted. If you truly want to make things right, you need to change. But I don't know if I can wait for that anymore. Nnamdi's face softened as he reached out to her, the vulnerability in his eyes unmistakable. I'm ready to change, Adaora. I'm ready to fight for us. I don't want to lose you. Please, don't walk away. I've hurt you, but I want to make it right. I'll prove it to you every day. Adaora stared at him, weighing his words. She wanted to believe him, but only time would tell if he could truly change. The road ahead was uncertain, but Adaora had learned something crucial through the heartbreak. No one had the right to destroy her peace, and whether with Nnamdi or without him, she would no longer let herself be anyone's second choice. The night was quiet, but Adaora's heart wasn't. She had survived betrayal and found strength she didn't know she had. Nnamdi's redemption was only the beginning of his journey. Whether he could truly change remained to be seen, but one thing was certain. Adaora was no longer the woman who would quietly suffer. She had found her voice, and no one would ever silence it again.